So last time we concluded this topic of asana, that is the third step in Ashtanga Yoga after Yam Niyam Asana. Today we will be talking about fourth step, that is Pranayama. So there are 5 sutras which are dealing with Pranayama. We saw that for asana 3 sutras were there. The reason could be that in asana, Patanjali has not prescribed any asana. Patanjali has not given a particular name or particular type of asana which is to be practiced. He has in a general way, he has defined asana, and any body posture which conforms to that norm which has been given, that will constitute asana. But in case of pranayam, it is not so. In case of pranayam, 4 techniques have been suggested by Patanjali. Very, very specific techniques of pranayam have been suggested. So that's why perhaps more sutras are there. And then also the siddhis. The asana siddhi has been described in one sutra. In case of pranayam, the siddhis are described in 2 sutras. So that's why perhaps the 5 sutras are there. Today we will be looking this entire concept of pranayam. Now Sutra 49, which describes and which defines what constitutes pranayam. It reads, Tasmin sati shwasa prashwasa yora gati vichcheda pranayam. So what is pranayam? Pranayam is stoppage of the flow of incoming and outgoing breath. Tasmin sati shwasa prashwasa yora gati vichcheda pranayam. तो श्वास और प्रश्वास की गति को विच्छेद करना, ये प्राणायाम है. तो जहां कहीं पे भी हम इस प्रकार से गति विच्छेद करते हैं, तो that can constitute pranayam, but there are other things also necessary for that. We will look into that. And उसके बाद में the techniques have been given, and these techniques have been mentioned as Bahya. Some disturbance is there. Bahya Abhyantara Stumbh Vrtti देश काल संख्या भी परिदृष्टो दीर्घ सूक्ष्म. This is the 58th. So 3 techniques are given in this sutra: Bahya Vrtti, Abhyantar Vrtti, and Stumbh Vrtti. And these 3 pranayams are to be regulated with the help of 2 things, or in consideration of 3 things. What are those 3 things? Desha, Kala, and Sankhya. We will look into it, what is meant by that. And then when pranayam is regulated by Desha, Kala, Sankhya, these 3 pranayams will become long and subtle, Dirgha and Sukshma. And Sutra 51st is talking about the 4th kind of pranayam, Bahya Abhyantara Vishakshepi Chaturtha. So Chaturtha pranayam is that which is transcending the Bahya Vritti and Abhyantar Vritti. So this is how he has given the list of 4 techniques. And in second sutra, the methodology which is to be followed, how it is to be perfected, how it is to be mastered, that has been stated. So now looking at this, Tasmin Sati Shwasa Prashwasa Yura Gati Vichcheda Pranayama, it is obvious that it is something which is to be done voluntarily, because involuntarily, while doing some physical act, while lifting something, we may stop the breath for a little while, or we are passing from an area where there is lot of bad smell, we stop.
सर आप मुझे को-होस्ट बना सकते हैं सर? तो मैं एटलीस्ट म्यूट कर दूं.
I think it is solved. कैसे होस्ट बनाना है?
पार्टिसिपेंट में जाइए और फाल्गुनी के सामने 3 डॉट आएगा, वहां क्लिक करेंगे तो ऑप्शन आएगा मेक को होस्ट. पार्टिसिपेंट्स में जाके फाल्गुनी शेड के सामने.
डन. आया? Okay. So it is not something which is involuntarily done. Whatever we are doing involuntarily, that cannot constitute pranayama. So sometimes when we are diving in water, we stop our breath for a long time. But that doesn't constitute pranayama. There are many occasions when we have to stop the breath for a little while, depending on the circumstances. But here, pranayama is some activity which is to be carried out with a specific purpose, and the purpose is the stoppage of the vrittis and concentration of the mind. Attaining concentration of mind is the primary aim of pranayama. So from that perspective, any kind of stoppage of breathing or any breathing exercise does not constitute pranayama. We have to be very clear that where stoppage of breathing or log bolte hain breathing exercise is not pranayama. If the exercise is done for the purpose of strengthening the breathing apparatus, then that doesn't constitute pranayam. Pranayam means it is directed towards stoppage of vrittis, it is direct towards concentration of mind. If the stoppage of breathing is helping in that direction, where we are able to control the mind, we are able to concentrate the mind, then that will constitute pranayam. Otherwise, it will not be a yogic pranayam. So this misconception, many people say I am doing pranayam. What they are doing is only breathing exercise, because there is no attempt in concentrating. So from that perspective, when we look at pranayam, it is, there are certain prerequisites also. The prerequisites is there that the body in movement cannot do pranayam. The body has to be steady. That's why this word tasmin sati. Tasmin is referring to asana. When person has become relatively, now many will interpret it then after mastery in asana. We are not able to attain mastery in asana, but what is suggested that certain amount of steadiness of the body, certain amount of stability of the body is required for the practice of pranayama. That is one essential requirement. So in a yogic posture, only the pranayama is to be carried out. It simply means that. Then it is also to be directed, as we saw, towards steadiness, towards concentration. So various kinds of objects have been suggested for dharana. And along with those objects, the breathing also has to be regulated. Breathing also has to contribute in that concentration. So when breathing contributes in that concentration, which is fixed on a particular object in dharana, that means during concentration, the mind is fixed not only on the object, but also mind is totally focused in breathing, which is contributing to the concentration towards that object. So it is not empty kind of thing, not in a blank state or not in a what is known as in a tamasic state, but very much consciously, voluntarily, that breathing has to be there, and that breathing has to be directed towards object of concentration. Here we will notice there are pertinent kind of practices of meditation where the breathing itself is the object of concentration. So breathing itself is, being focused on. So how the breathing is going on, whether it is subtle, whether it is long, whether it is jerky, whether it is smooth. So all those consideration will come there. But pranayam, if it is not directed towards concentration, then there are chances that the agitation of the mind will go on increasing. It happens when the oxygen supply to the brain increases, the activity of brain is also increasing. So here we have to notice that it is a pertinent thing which is suggested by yoga, that there is a close connection between thinking and breathing. So through breathing, thinking can be regulated, thinking can be arrested. That is the important thing. So in Hatha Yoga, you will find Chale Vate Chalam Chittam Nischale Nischalam Bhave. As long as the pranas are moving, the thought process will go on. चले वाते चलम चित्तम, चित्त की एक्टिविटी के लिए प्राण की शक्ति की जरूरत पड़ती है, और प्राण की शक्ति जो हम लोगों के थिंकिंग के लिए लगती है वो हमको सांसों से मिलती है. ऑक्सीजन बोलो, प्राण वायु बोलो, प्राण बोलो. तो चले वाते चलम चित्तम, जब तक वात चल रहा है तब तक चित्त चलेगा, और वात को रोक दिया तो चित्त भी रुक जाएगा. सो इफ वी understand this simple thing, then no matter what kind of thoughts are there, what kind of activity is there in the mind, no matter what kind of chitta it is, disturbed chitta, shipta chitta, mooda chitta, vikshipta chitta. But pranayam is one technique through which any chitta bhumi can be regulated, it can be controlled. That is, it simply means that. So these are the considerations one has to always have in mind while performing the pranayama. So it is not merely stoppage, like the wrestlers are there, they can stop their breath for a very long time. Deep sea divers are there, they can remain for many minutes under the surface of water. We, in spite of practicing pranayama for so many years, we may not be even able to stop the breath even half the time of what they can do. But the difference is there that after doing that long of stoppage of the breathing, what kind of change is there in the mental states? So that is the criteria. From that we have to understand the importance of pranayama. So always when the pranayama is done, the full concentration of mind, steadiness of the body, very slow, deliberate, conscious, voluntary effort is there. Moment to moment awareness is there as to how the breathing is going on. All these will constitute that gati vichcheda. It is not mere stoppage, but that along with gati vichcheda, these are the areas we have to look into. And another thing is there that prana is like a wild tiger, a wild animal. If we are approaching a wild animal without caution and we don't protect ourselves well, then wild tiger can attack us and it can kill us. Pranas are like that. So in Hatha-yoga-pradipika, it has been very clearly stated, जैसे व्याघ्र को, सिंह को, हाथी को या किसी जंगली जानवर को धीरे धीरे वश में किया जाता है, उसी तरीके से प्राणों को भी धीरे धीरे वश में किया जाता है. अब धीरे धीरे वश में किया जाता है, इसका मतलब क्या है कि रोज उसका अभ्यास होना चाहिए, सतत अभ्यास होना चाहिए, और उसके ऊपर विक्ट्री के हिसाब से ही अभ्यास होना चाहिए. So if you want to attain some proficiency in pranayama, then every day little bit of practice has to go on, and then we have to do it in a very small measure. If we do it in a very hurried manner, or we are hurried to reach somewhere, that will be very dangerous. So apparently it may appear like a little innocent kind of activity, but it is not. And we saw that it is connected to thinking. That means it is connected to our mind. So if pranayama is done in a wrong manner, then it can affect the mind also. And Dr. Jaydev, while talking about pranayama, always used to give us an example of a particular community, Brahmin community on the coastal area, on the west coast only, somewhere maybe Konkan or maybe Karnataka, north or south Canara, sea coast. Now the young children, young boys and young people of that community started doing pranayama in a very rigorous way. And it was reported that some of them really got affected by it. So that was the example he gave 2-3 times in the class when pranayama was being discussed. So pranayama is to be done very safely. And that is why we find that this is true of pranayama also, and this is true of asanas also. Yoga Institute founder has always suggested that don't do more than 30 rounds of pranayama. Now this restriction is for the householder. This restriction is for the ordinary people who are going to office, who are working, and they are traveling. So their bodies, their lungs are not so strong that they can take the rigor of the pranayam at one go. The body has to build gradually. When they become fit enough, then perhaps this restriction goes. But otherwise, this 30 count of restriction is imposed by founder on all those who are learning pranayam. So at institute, we recommend that not more than 30 rounds at a time. Atyog Pradipika talks about doing pranayam 4 times in a day: morning, afternoon, evening, and midnight. So if we are doing 4 times of pranayam, if we are that sincerely seeking it, working at it, then also not more than 30 times. And this restriction is not applicable to a spiritual person, say a yogi or a sannyasi who has taken yoga as a way of life. For him, this may not be there. But even then, even for such individual, Hatyog Pradipika, Hatyog puts some restrictions. So not more than 80 times in a one sitting. That is what is suggested there. So now these are the things which are, depending on the masters of yoga from whom we are learning, depending on their experiences, their insight, their assessment of our personality, they will recommend us to what extent we should do pranayama. So this is very important. Now here, when we talk about the second sutra, Bahya Abhyantara Stumbh Vrtti Desha Kala Sankhya Abhi Paridishto Dirgha Sukshma. So this stoppage of breath or Gati Vichcheda has to be in accordance or in consideration of Desha Kala Sankhya. Then only it will become long and subtle, or that means it will take us in the direction of concentration. It will help us in concentrating our mind on the desired object. So before that, 3 techniques have been suggested. Bahya Vritti Pranayam. So what is Bahya Vritti Pranayam? When we are exhaling and that exhalation merges into stoppage of breath. So we have exhaled, lungs are empty, and we suspend the breath. That means we don't breathe in again. As far as possible, we try to remain breathless at that breath, not breathless, without breath at that time, without inhalation, as long as we can maintain that position. That will constitute Bahya Vritti Pranayam. So what is Bahya Vritti Pranayam? Exhalation and stoppage of breath. गति विच्छेद कब होता है? सांस छोड़ने के बाद, तो वो बाह्य वृत्ति प्राणायाम हो गया. और फिर सांस लेने के बाद में जब हम उसका गति विच्छेद करते हैं, मतलब सांस ले ली, अब सांस को रोक दिया, मतलब lungs are full and we are holding the breath, which is known as kumbhak in Hatha Yoga. So when we are doing kumbhak, but kumbhak is not suddenly, it is after inhalation in a certain manner, and then it ends into a kumbhak. That will be Abhyantar Vritti Pranayam. And when these Bahya Vritti and Abhyantar Vritti have been mastered, it has been practiced for sufficiently long time, then what happens is the Stumbh Vritti automatically arises. I don't know how many are really practicing pranayam regularly. One particular experience I would like to share, that those who are practicing pranayam regularly, sometimes they find that suddenly they are able to stop their breath for a very long time. And it can happen anytime. You are traveling in a bus and suddenly you find that you have stopped your breath and you can just go on stopping. Or you are sitting someplace waiting for somebody and suddenly it happens. Now this kind of possibility is there. But this will happen only when the Bahya Vritti and Abhyantar Vritti have been practiced for sufficiently long time. So our lungs as well as the muscles, particularly the abdominal muscles and the chest muscles, they have acquired certain amount of elasticity, certain amount of strength, certain sturdiness. When that kind of sturdiness or that kind of strength has been gained by the muscles, then it can happen automatically. That is what is Stambha Vritti. So in Bahya Vritti Pranayam, we are inhaling, exhaling and stopping. In Abhyantar Vritti, we are inhaling and stopping. In Stambha Vritti, some amount of air might be there in the lungs and suddenly we may go into a stoppage. So the example has been given कि garam garam tawa रहता है, we are cooking something and there's a pot on the gas, and if we drop little water on the hot surface, then what happens? The water will start evaporating from all directions. It will just start evaporating. That has been compared to Stumbh Vrtti. So, as if in Bahya Vritti, there is a movement from internal to external and stoppage. In Abhyantara Vritti, there is a movement from external to internal and then there is a stoppage. But in Stumbh Vritti, all sides suddenly, as if, it has stopped. From all directions, that stoppage will occur. That is what is indicated. And Chaturtha is the one which is going beyond. It says that when Bahya Vritti and Abhyantara Vrittis have been mastered, then fourth pranayam can automatically occur. So many authorities have, now you see we are talking about these names, we are talking about these pranayams, but we have not experienced Bahya Vritti properly, we have not experienced Abhyantara Vritti properly. So it is difficult to make an, become clear on this concept of Tritiya Pranayam or Stumbh Vritti, and still more difficult is Chaturtha Pranayam. But in Hatha Yoga literature, they have, like Vijnana Bhikshu. Vijnana Bhikshu says that this Chaturtha Pranayam is Keval Kumbhaka. And Dr. Jaydev has also agreed to that, he has supported the view of Vijnana Bhikshu. And there are some important commentators, like there is this Yoga Sutra commentator, Brahmalina Rishi, Muni. So Brahmalina Muni has said that this Tritiya Pranayam, Stumbh Vritti Pranayam is like Sahita Kumbhaka. And Chaturtha Pranayam is like Keval Kumbhaka. So in Sahita Kumbhaka, there is a consideration of Desha, Kala and Sankhya. Whereas in fourth, Desh, Kala, Sankhya also have been transcended. That is not the consideration. And Keval Kumbhaka has been talked about in Hatha Yoga Pradipika. In Hatha Yoga literature, Keval Kumbhaka has been considered as a very high technique. So, but then again, we have to understand the terms which are used in Hatha Yoga, Rechak, Purak, Kumbhak, these terms are not similar to what Patanjali is saying. Many people have tried to equate them, but according to Swami Harandaranya, that is not a right thing to do, because Hatha Yoga pranayam is slightly different than the pranayam mentioned by Maharshi Patanjali. So these things we have to keep in mind. Now coming to the actual practice, Bahya Vritti pranayam and Abhyantari Vritti pranayam are to be practiced initially. And preferably, Bahya Vritti pranayam is considered to be very important according to Patanjali, because he has shown his preference in chapter 1 by talking about this pranayam in Sutra 34. Prachardhana vidharnabhyam va pranasya. That is the sutra. So this Prachardhana vidharnabhyam va pranasya, to stabilize the mind. So where it is suggested, whenever a good student of yoga, he is normally trying to keep his mind very stable, very calm, very quiet. But sometimes there is a danger. Sometimes events are taking place where there is a likelihood of his getting disturbed. There's a likelihood of his mind going, haywire. Now, that is the time one can make use of parikarmas. So as a part of parikarmas, this technique has been suggested by Maharshi Patanjali in Sutra 34 of chapter 1. So it says, Prachardhana vidharna bhyam va pranasya. Or the mind can also be stabilized with this breathing out and stopping of the breath. Prachardhana. So he seems to be in favor of Bahya Vritti. Now, Bahya Vritti, how it is to be done? Very practical suggestions have been given in Aranya. If you read Aranya's commentary, very practical things have been suggested there. So they say that keep your body upright, keep your mind steady, keep your body steady, remain focused on some object, and very slowly try to practice this Bahya Vritti pranayam. So you inhale and very slowly, gradually you exhale. Now this exhalation may be longer than usual, and then let this exhalation merge into suspension in a single effort. We don't have much time, otherwise we could have done lots of practices related to it, how the breathing goes, हमारे नॉर्मल ब्रीदिंग में क्या क्या होता है, एक जब सांस लेते हैं, जब सांस छोड़ते हैं, तो जो ये रुकना होता है या उसके बाद जो सांस छोड़ना होता है, उसमें क्या क्या होता है, all those things are very important here simply we have to understand कि धीरे धीरे सांस छोड़ना है और उसको इतना धीमी गति से छोड़ते जाना है, अल्टीमेटली उसको स्टॉप कर देना है। लेकिन ये जो स्टॉपेज है वो उसके लिए अलग एफर्ट डालने की जरूरत नहीं है, देयर इज नो मेंटल एफर्ट इन्वॉल्व। वो जो एफर्ट जो सांस छोड़ने में चल रहा है, वही एफर्ट से वो सस्पेंशन में चले जाएगा। सो इसको अगर एग्जाम्पल के द्वारा समझना है तो मैं हमेशा बहुत सालों से ये एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ कि जो लोग लोकल ट्रेन में ट्रेवल करते हैं उन्होंने देखा रहेगा कि जब ये लोकल ट्रेन हर स्टेशन पे रुकती है और अगर अच्छा मोटरमैन रहता है, हम लोग अपने दोस्तों के साथ बात कर रहे हैं या कुछ खड़े हुए हैं, कुछ पढ़ रहे हैं, तो खड़े हुए हैं, तो कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि स्टेशन आया हमको मालूम ही नहीं पड़ता है, गाड़ी चली स्टेशन छोड़ दिया हमको मालूम ही नहीं पड़ता है। तो ये जो है ये लक्षण है अच्छे मोटरमैन के। मोटरमैन कब गाड़ी को रुका देता है, एक तो बहुत तीव्र गति से गाड़ी चल रही है, इट इज स्पीडिंग, कोई कोई स्टेशन के बीच में देयर इज लॉट ऑफ डिस्टेंस, सो ट्रेन इज मूविंग वेरी फास्ट, बट देन बिफोर द स्टेशन अप्रोचेस this motorman is slowing the train and then slowly stopping the train, and we don't even realize that from the fast speed the train has slowed down and now it has stopped, and then starts, we don't realize that it is picking up speed and again it goes into speed. This is the skill of the motorman. Now in pranayam similar kind of skill is required. When we are doing pranayam, then exhalation is in certain amount of speed. Now that merges into suspension. कब suspension आ गया पता ही नहीं चला. It merges with the stoppage. And as long as we are comfortable, we don't have to prolong it for many seconds. But we have to be very comfortable. Now here we have to again pay attention to this important fact that pranayam is not to be done in a manner where the mind and body gets disturbed and agitated. If we are forcing the breath to stop for longer duration than necessary, then body will get disturbed, mind will get disturbed. So after doing 2-3 rounds of pranayam, we will be tired or we will want to relax and we will want to stop the practice of pranayam. So it has to be done in such a way that after one round of pranayam, we are able to do the second round of pranayam with equal ease and comfort. Then third round also has to be done with the equal ease and comfort. And then 30 rounds are over with equal ease and comfort. After doing 30 rounds, we are fresh and charged with energy. There's no tiredness. So that means we'll have to initially keep the count to the minimum. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, depending on our lung condition. But these are the criteria that the body and mind should not get disturbed. So is done say, and when we are sitting upright and doing it, automatically there is a natural tendency when we are exhaling, the stomach goes in. Lungs are squeezing. Space is reducing in the lungs. So diaphragm will move up. Cavity will be created and the diaphragm, which is in this form, it is like this when we have breathed in. But when we are exhaling, the diaphragm will go like this. So the space in the lungs will reduce, but the space in the abdominal area will increase. So when space in abdominal area will increase, automatically the bloated stomach, which is out because of the diaphragm pushing down, it will go back. So in exhalation, there will be an inward movement of the abdomen. We become aware of that. We maintain awareness of that. And we also sometimes, just to feel it, we can consciously create this effort in that moment, very gentle, very little, and allow the stomach to go in and stop. So during suspension, the stomach will be in. And then when we are inhaling, the stomach should not be held tight. Automatically, stomach will be released. It will be relaxed. It will go further as the lungs are being filled. So diaphragm is going down. So this is the moment we have to keep in mind, and this is how the pranayam is to be done. For some months, This is to be done. And in between, we can also do the same thing with the Abhyantara Vritti. Very slowly we inhale and very slowly we stop and allow it to go into that stoppage. And this way, when sufficiently long time it has been done, then certain amount of proficiency can be gained. And it goes without saying that concentration has to be there, one-pointedness has to be there, mind has to be fully engaged, there has to be a voluntary effort. There's no moment of involuntary inattention in pranayama. Pranayama has to be done with full attention. Now, why after having done this, when we are comfortable, then we bring in this element of desha, kala, and sankhya. Once the breathing becomes smooth, then we pay attention to how far the breath is going out. So when we are exhaling, now if you exhale, you will feel the force of the breath on the skin. If you keep your hand below the nostrils and you exhale, now you see the desha is what? Desha is amount of distance the air travels or the prana travels when one is exhaling or when one is inhaling. So there are two spaces, दो देश हैं, एक अभ्यंतर देश है, एक बाह्य देश है. बाह्य देश है जब हम बाह्य वृत्ति प्राणायाम करते हैं, सांस छोड़ रहे हैं, तो कितना डिस्टेंस हमारा सांस जा रहा है, दैट इज, तो 4 अंगुल जाएगा, 8 अंगुल जाएगा, 12 अंगुल जाएगा, 16 अंगुल जाएगा. जितना ज्यादा ब्रेथ दूर जाएगा उतना हमारी प्रोफिशिएंसी कम है. That means our lung, that to that extent our mind is agitated, to that extent our body is agitated, to that extent we are not ready for pranayam. जैसे जैसे प्राणायाम का अभ्यास बढ़ते जाएगा, जो डिस्टेंस ट्रेवल कर रही है एयर, that will become lesser and lesser. Ultimately, a stage will come where even if we are holding the palm back of the hand near the nostril and we are exhaling, we will not feel the flow of the breath. It will become so subtle. So that is the consideration of desha. Desha kala sankhya bhi pranayam. So once the proficiency is gained, then we bring this idea that we breathe as slow as possible, we inhale as slow as possible, we exhale as slow as possible. This has to be kept in mind. And kala is how much duration we are, time, shana. In Sanskrit, in Indian thinking, the shana is the basic unit of time. कितने क्षण तक हम उसको कर रहे हैं. तो जैसे मॉडर्न टाइम्स में हमारे मिनट्स और सेकंड्स के क्राइटेरिया यूनिट्स हैं टाइम के, उस तरीके से पुराने समय में समय का क्राइटेरिया, समय की यूनिट जो क्षण माने जाते हैं. तो कितने क्षणों तक हम सांस रोक पा रहे हैं, कितने क्षणों तक हम सांस ले पा रहे हैं, वो सब कंसिडरेशन. तो एक बार हमने सांस छोड़ा तो हमने सोचा कि 10 क्षणों तक हम सांस रोकेंगे. अब क्षण जो है वो उसको अगर डिफाइन करना है, हम पलक झपकते हैं, उसका 1/4 भाग को एक क्षण कहते हैं. इट्स अ वेरी माइन्यूट, वेरी स्मॉल यूनिट. एंड वी आर नॉट, आवर माइंड्स आर नॉट accustomed to this kind of counting or this kind of units of time. Ancient people were used to this kind of unit of time, so they were able to have that proficiency. But now we have seconds and minutes, so we can even count in terms of seconds. So when pranayam is being done in terms of counting the time and seconds, then that is the second consideration, that is kala. This can also be like 1 second में हम एक बार राम बोलते हैं, तो एक बार सांस लिया, राम 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 राम, 7 बार राम बोलने तक सांस रोका. That could be there. Gayatri mantra could be there. Om, Om, Om could be there. Or any other mantra could be there. So this measurement of time can be done by japa. So many people, in many places, pranayam has been recommended to be done along with japa. Many teachers will teach that. So it will depend. There is a lot of variation in the techniques. Depending on the person's personal experience, they may teach the pranayam accordingly. So some people will say that inhale and hold the breath and count 1 round of Gayatri mantra, and then you exhale. Or some people will say twice Gayatri mantra, thrice Gayatri mantra. Now these are the, so we have to roughly understand that. And then there is matra. Matra is very important aspect. As far as matra is concerned, we have to understand. सुनने में मात्रा और काल दोनों एक जैसे लगते हैं, और एक तरीके से देखा जाए तो काफी सिमिलर भी है. काल, जब भी क्षणों के बारे में बात करते हैं तो काल है. मात्रा का जो है, टेक्निकली इन योगा लिटरेचर एंड इन योगा प्रैक्टिसेस, मात्रा इज रिप्रेजेंटिंग द impulses arising in the body when the breath is stopped. See, we know that how the breathing is done. When we stop the breath, as long as the prana is enough to nourish the body, and energy is being supplied, prana is being supplied, body is not going to react in any manner. But when we have stopped the breath for sufficiently long time, that means, speaking in terms of modern physiology, anatomy, the amount of oxygen has been reduced to a critical level, then suddenly there will be a kind of disturbance in the body, and there will be signals coming from the body, impulses coming from the body. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. This is a non-verbal communication of the cells of the body telling our brain to inhale, inhale, inhale. Because there is a depletion of oxygen, there is an emergency, inhale. So this is the kind of impulse which will arise in the body. तो थोड़ी जब सांस लिया और सांस रोका तो 10-15 सेकंड तक तो कुछ भी नहीं लगेगा, because oxygen is being used. There's sufficient oxygen in the system, so there's no problem. We can hold the breath for 15 seconds very comfortable. But after 15 seconds, suddenly there will be an impulse arising, and you'll be, body will be telling, now don't stop, inhale, inhale. So this signal coming from the various parts of the body to the brain to inhale is known as udghat. In Sanskrit, it is known as udghat. तो पहला उद्घात कब आता है? नॉर्मल हेल्दी इंडिविजुअल में पहला उद्घात नॉर्मली 48 सेकेंड्स माना जाता है. 48 सेकेंड्स चले जाते हैं, उसके बाद अभी इन अवर केस इट इज नॉट 48 सेकेंड्स. In our case, it could be 12 seconds, 16 seconds, 20 seconds, because we don't have that kind of strong lungs, which earlier people had. So maybe उन्होंने वो उद्घात सेट किया रहेगा. तो मात्रा क्या है? Now मात्रा we have to understand. जैसे काल जो था वो क्षणों से गिना जाता है, मात्रा किससे गिनी जाती है? नंबर ऑफ ब्रेथ्स. So say in a minute how many times we are breathing in, breathing out? Anybody? एक मिनट में हम कितनी बार सांस लेते छोड़ते हैं?
15 to 18.
About 15, 16.
15, 16. Okay. So let us say if we are taking 15 breaths in a minute. तो 15 breaths in a minute means 15 बार सांस छोड़ा और सांस लिया, बराबर? तो एक बार सांस लेना छोड़ने में कितना टाइम लगा? 4 सेकेंड. तो 4 सेकेंड एक मात्रा है. जितनी देर में हम लोग सांस लेते और छोड़ते हैं वो एक मात्रा है. ऐसी अगर 12 मात्रा हम सांस रोकते हैं तो उसको कहते हैं पहला उद्घात, 48 सेकेंड्स. तो इट इज सेड दैट 48 सेकेंड्स तक सांस रोकेंगे तो दैट कॉन्स्टिट्यूट्स द लोएस्ट काइंड ऑफ प्राणायाम. इन प्राणायाम ऑल्सो देर आर 3 वेराइटीज. सो उद्घात के दृष्टि से देखेंगे तो जो 48 इज दैट इज द मिनिमम, एंड देन ये 12 मात्रा हो गई, और 12 मात्रा से फिर आगे बढ़ते जाएंगे, 24 मात्रा हो जाएगी. यू आर गेटिंग द आइडिया कि जितनी देर में हम सांस लेते और छोड़ते हैं वो एक मात्रा है. तो 12 मात्राओं तक जब हम सांस रोकते हैं तो वो एक प्राणायाम, और ऐसे जब 12 प्राणायाम करते हैं तो एक धारणा होता है. तो कितने सेकंड हो गए वो? इट इज इंटरेस्टिंग. नाउ आई एम नॉट गिविंग यू कैलकुलेशंस हियर. यू कैन रीड इन अरण्य. द calculations are there. You can understand. Now, since I have explained it while reading, it will become clear what he is referring to. Now, there are certain scriptures like Puranas are there. Pranayam has been a very ancient technique, and all the scriptures are talking about pranayam. As we saw, Mahabharata is talking about pranayam, and in Mahabharata, it is said that pranayam is the highest kind of tapa. Pranayam can really bring about changes. It can destroy the old structure if you are interested in. If there are certain mental attitudes and structures which we are interested in changing, then pranayam can really help in that. So that way, this desha, kal, and sankhya are to be considered. Now, whatever I said, if we have to reduce that to a little better understanding, then what I will do is I will read a small passage, noted down Dr. Jaydev's words related to pranayama. So that will, whatever we have discussed, that will get little firmly fixed in the mind. So doctor says, knowingly inhale slowly. Knowingly inhale slowly, deeply. Overcome the desire to breathe fast. Synchronization of each incoming and outgoing breath with the object of concentration is itself pranayama. See, even if we are not bringing this element of desha, kala, sankhya, if breathing is done in this manner, that our mind is concentrated, then even if we are not thinking of desha, kala, sankhya, still it will constitute pranayama. Management of nervous energy, which is called prana. If pranayama is a process of pranayama is a process of harnessing the mind as one harnesses a horse to a cart. घोड़ा गाड़ी रहती है तो घोड़ा गाड़ी पे घोड़े को जोता जाता है, उससे बांधा जाता है, तब वो गाड़ी को कैरी कर सकता है. उसी तरीके से ये जो प्राणायाम है, इट्स अ प्रोसेस ऑफ हार्नेसिंग द माइंड. प्राणायाम के जरिए हम अपने माइंड को बांध सकते हैं. जैसे घोड़े को बांध दिया जाता है, ऐसे प्राणों को बांध दिया जाता है, और माइंड और प्राणायाम दोनों एक साथ में काम करते हैं. सो during pranayam, one must be aware of posture, time, place, numbers, and concentration. Concentration, coordination, and mental participation is very essential in pranayam. The total attention should be to reach subtleness. There can be no dilution on the ratio maintenance. The inhalation and exhalation should be done without any external noticeability. It has to be very subtle. कई लोग जोर जोर से प्राणायाम करते हैं. Often you will find people sitting in the park and there is a jerk of the head and they are doing anulom vilom. Now the person sitting next to us should not even know that we are breathing. That is how the pranayam has to be carried out. There should be no strain, tension in retention. It should be done in a very, very relaxed way. The total attention should be to reach subtleness with three considerations, that is desha, kala, sankhya. So this is what is the significant part of pranayama. Now this is simply all the 4 techniques of pranayama and the manner in which pranayama is to be done. If there are questions.
So you said, according to this Hatha Yoga, they said 48 seconds. You translated it, that 12 matras or whatever. For regular people like us, what would you suggest? You said 14-15 के आगे ही oxygen capacity होता है, तो 14-15 seconds is the bare minimum.
हाँ, नहीं, वो रोज अगर करेंगे तो कैपेसिटी बढ़ते जाता है. हाँ, इनिशियली तो जैसे सी आई फाइंड I'll tell you one thing, that yoga institute में जो प्राणायाम सिखाए जाते हैं, those are the safest kind of pranayam, and if done regularly they really increase the capacity of the breath. तो जैसे अभी वहाँ पे प्राणायाम नंबर 1 बोलते हैं, so we may begin initially, they may ask 4 to 5 minutes, but gradually we can increase it to 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. अगर 30 सेकेंड्स तक हम इनहेलेशन करते हैं और 30 सेकेंड तक एक्सहेलेशन करते हैं, तो दैट विल बी द बेस्ट काइंड ऑफ प्राणायाम नंबर 1. तो एक बार आई रिमेंबर in somewhere in 2003 there was a camp of sadhakas, and then some things were being talked about where a lot of intellectual discussions were taking place, and doctor had come there, and then sadhakas insisted that doctor should talk to them. And that time, Dr. Jaydev, very quietly, he said, okay, we are discussing all this, but now tell me, how many of you have been able to reach the pranayam number 1, where you are able to inhale for 30 seconds and exhale for 30 seconds? So I think that will be the best level we can. And I think Ajay also has been practicing this pranayam for long, so his counting is quite good. He will be able to share some more on it. But then as we go further, pranayam number 2, pranayam number 3, 4, in these minimum counts have been recommended. But very specifically in Shunyak, it has been suggested that we inhale for 3 seconds, hold for 4 or 5 or 6 seconds, and then very slowly we exhale, and then Shunyak for longer duration. So the rest of the 3 steps are small, but in Shunyak, the suspension is for maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds, that will be good enough. If you are able to suspend the breath for 15 seconds or 20 seconds, that will be very good. After Shunyak comes Purak. So again, Purak, 15 seconds if we can do from the practice point of view, that will be a good number. If we are doing it regularly, then definitely it will increase.
This Bahya Vrtti is same as Shunyak, right?
Quite similar, quite similar. In fact, I always treat it as, because the effect of Shunyak Pranayam is just like this Prachardana Vidharana or Bahya Vrtti Pranayam. Same effect is there. And I think founder must have considered Patanjali's suggestion. That's why he has devised in such a way that it is not only pure Shunyak, how you have to breathe in and how you have to hold and how you have to go into Shunyak, how breathe has to be let out. All those considerations are there. If you read this Yoga Shiv literature about this, very beautifully this has been devised. So if we are doing pranayam number 5 to 8, then we are incorporating Bahya Vrtti and Abhyantara.
I also heard at the institute that the recommendation is that if you are trying to increase the counts, then do it 1 count per week.
Yeah, very gradual, very gradual. Ajay, you would like to say pranayam number 1?
Yeah, actually, conscious efforts were made, and with God's grace, it's coming to 60 seconds, like inhaling and exhaling 60-60.
Wow.
Great.
And it is like no difficulty, like it is happening. So.
And how you feel at that time?
Yeah, feel good. But yet, I honestly, if you ask me, like वो जो भाव जो होते हैं ना, वो भाव somehow are still not like getting incorporated somehow. I don't know where the problem is, or somehow those bhavas are still like quite away. जो अपने को बताते हैं इंस्टीट्यूट में, वो maybe it'll take time, but then yes, one does feel good.
I think holding that long automatically creates that Aishwarya Bhav. So feeling good will be naturally coming, and it will be experienced.
Ajay sir, you meant to say that one inhalation is 60 seconds?
Yeah.
Same.
सर अगर हो सके तो एक बार आधे घंटे का सेशन लीजिए ना प्लीज प्राणायाम का. Just 2-3 pranayam simple ones that.
Yeah.
So one more request, sir.
At a time convenient to you, sir. At a time
Yes,
convenient to you.
Yeah. After this completion of chapter 2.
Okay. Please.
We may,
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
let's see if we can.
So
Yes.
in the first chapter, Sutra 34, if I remember, it was as if that, if I may be mistaken, sir, but I remember that you exhale, and where there is very little air left, hardly any air, then you suspend. So,
Yeah.
am I wrong or sir, is it correct?
No, that is right. The complete emptiness is not to be created. Little air can remain and then we can stop. Then that will be very helpful in maintaining suspension for a longer duration.
Okay. Yeah. That is the reason. So that it
Yes.
can, yes.
That is very good. It is not necessary that, and that way, physiologically we cannot empty our lungs completely. Some air is always there. But if you are putting efforts more than necessary, then mind will get disturbed or body will get disturbed. Then we will not be able to attain that concentration which is supposed to be gained. That is the problem.
So once again, say about this Kal, Matra, and the third one, so the initial.
काल इस जैसे अभी सांस ले रहे हैं,
Yes, sir.
इंटरनली हम लोगों को फील होता है कि जो ब्रेथ है वो कहाँ तक गया.
Yes, sir.
और अगर प्रैक्टिस करेंगे तो थोड़े दिनों में हम लोग देख सकते हैं कि सांस लेते ही one feels a lightness in the body. When it is done in a prescribed manner, then you will feel even the sensation in the toes and the tips of the fingers. सांस तो लंग्स में ही जा रही है.
Yes, sir. Yes.
लेकिन प्राणों की गति जो है वो हमको उंगलियों के पोरों तक और पैर के पोरों तक भी सुनाई देगी. दैट मीन्स एंटायर इंटरनल स्पेस विल बी काइंड ऑफ. तो लंग्स में भी कितना स्पीड में जा रही है, लंग्स में भी कितना स्पीड में, अगर वो स्पीड को हम लोग रेगुलेट करते हैं तो दैट इज कंसिडरेशन ऑफ देश. और जब हम सांस छोड़ते हैं, माइंड डिस्टर्ब रहेगा तो बहुत तीव्र गति से सांस चलती है, बहुत डिस्टर्ब ब्रीदिंग रहती है. तो देयर इज अ रैपिड मूवमेंट ऑफ ब्रेथ, सो ब्रेथ ट्रेवल्स फास्ट एंड यू कैन फील द फोर्स ऑफ द ब्रेथ. Person standing next to you may also feel that you are breathing very rapidly and disturbed breathing is there. So with effort, with conscious effort, we breathe so slowly. We inhale slowly, we exhale slowly, like doctor said.
Yes.
Inhale slowly, but it should be in such a manner that no disturbance is created, very relaxed. So when we are breathing slowly, then the amount of space covered by the breath will be less. It will become less and less and less. So when that regulation is being brought in the breathing in pranayam, then that is the consideration of desha. Kala is after inhaling, how many seconds we are holding the breath. 10 सेकेंड है, 5 सेकेंड है, या सांस छोड़ने के बाद में कितनी सेकेंड हम सांस रोक रहे हैं. तो अगर 10 सेकेंड सांस रोक रहे हैं तो ये जो सेकेंड कंसिडरेशन है वो काल का कंसिडरेशन, टाइम. तो इतने टाइम तक मैंने सांस रोका. मतलब जब हम सांस रोकते हैं, जब हम सांस रोकते हैं तब माइंड एक्टिव नहीं होता है, माइंड भी अरेस्ट हो जाता है. तो जब हम बोलते हैं कि 10 सेकेंड तक मैंने सांस रोका, तो इसका मतलब है 10 सेकेंड तक मेरा माइंड अरेस्टेड था, माइंड कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड था. तो उसको 15 सेकेंड कर सकते हैं, 20 सेकेंड कर सकते हैं. जब टाइम के हिसाब से उसको देखते हैं तो उसको काल के अनुसार करते हैं. और संख्या जो है, मात्रा, ये देश काल संख्या जो है वो मात्रा से संबंधित है. और मात्रा है कि 1 मिनट में नॉर्मल हेल्दी इंडिविजुअल ब्रीथ्स 14 to 16 टाइम्स इन अ मिनट. लेकिन योगी जो है, योग करने वाला जो है, वो 5-6 बार ही सांस लेता है. और बहुत ही अच्छा अगर स्टूडेंट रहेगा, बहुत ही अच्छा अगर अभ्यास करता है, तो वो 1 मिनट में 4 सांस लेता है. मतलब 15 सेकेंड में उसका एक बार सांस लेना छोड़ना होता है. तो वो जो 15 से 1/4 पे आ जाता है. तो इस प्रकार के कंसिडरेशन से जब हम प्राणायाम करते हैं कि अब ये कैसे कर पाते हैं, उद्घात, कि अभी सांस लिया और सांस छोड़ने के बाद में इम्पल्स आ रही कि सांस लो, लेकिन कॉन्शियसली वी आर ट्राइंग नॉट टू टेक द ब्रेथ इन. तो ये उद्घात के दृष्टि से हम कर रहे हैं. बॉडी इज टेलिंग ब्रीद इन, नहीं थोड़ा और रुकूंगा. बट दिस एफर्ट अगेन शुड नॉट बी of a kind which will disturb. It should help. जो भी whatever we are doing, it should aid and help in concentration. After having done good session of pranayam, mind will be very calm and collected and focused. Body will be very energetic. Body will be very calm and energetic. If there is a disturbance in the mind, if there is a disturbance in the body, that means something has gone wrong.
The humble request, sir. So please send us recording. Now I would like to hear this lecture 2-3 times more, sir, so that,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
firmly it is.
Yeah, recording will be shared, but then whatever we have discussed, you can just read these 3-4 sutras from
Yes,
Aranya.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And also everybody also read 134. That gives a very beautiful explanation, and lots of doubts will be cleared, and our techniques will improve as a result.
Actually, 134 I have referred many times, sir.
Yes,
So
yes,
that this I haven't gone through many times.
yes. It's a very important technique there.
Yes.
सर वो डॉक्टर साहब का भी वो प्लीज अगर भेज सकते हैं वो राइटिंग में वो उनका
हाँ, वो मैंने कहीं से सोर्सेस से
आशीष वो रिकॉर्डिंग में आ जाएगा ना आशीष?
ठीक है, वी कैन टेक
हाँ,
दैट।
हाँ, नहीं तो ये
we
मुझे
can note
किसी
down.
पेपर पे लिखना पड़ेगा।
नहीं सर, आप
because-
खाली रिकॉर्डिंग भेज देंगे तो हमको मिल जाएगा।
हाँ, नो सर,
हाँ,
वी कैन राइट इट फ्रॉम द रिकॉर्डिंग, दैट्स आल्सो।
अब इसके बाद के जो सूत्र हैं दो, दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट सिद्धीज ऑफ प्राणायाम, और उसके बाद प्रत्याहार। तो अब प्राणायाम के बाद में केवल एक प्रत्याहार बचता है, उसके बाद में चैप्टर 2 विल गेट ओवर, and from 17th onwards I am not here. I'll be out, and after coming back also for a few days I'll be busy. So we are in next section next session we will try to conclude by covering these two sutras, and in fact siddhi of pranayam we can talk just now for a few minutes. So sutra 52 and 53 are talking about the siddhi of pranayam, when the pranayam is successfully done and one has acquired certain amount of mastery.
Just one request, like, we don't mind having a gap, but we would want that you do it as you've been doing the up till now. So we are not in a hurry, but we would like to understand the sutras really well. So I think if you do it now, it will be not doing justice. So we don't mind. I think if I can talk on behalf of others, that we don't mind waiting, and you take as per your comfort level. We are fine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I second that, sir.
ठीक है.
Yeah.
Yes,
we
sir.
don't want to miss your
Yeah.
experience and your
Yeah.
whatever information. So we are fine. Yeah.
Yes, sir. मैं भी भाग के आई सर विपश्यना से 7-2 I reached home, सबसे पहले लैपटॉप चालू किया।
Okay.
Yeah. So we get a lot of information, and
Yes, sir. अजय सर ने सबकी मन की बात कह दी।
नहीं ठीक है, मैं ये सोच रहा था कि मतलब इसको कंक्लूड करके फिर बाद में ये करेंगे। ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, एक सेशन एक्स्ट्रा हो जाएगा अपना।
yeah, we'll wait. No issue at all.
आपको बीच में भी कोई अगर वीकडे में लेना है तो दैट इज आल्सो अ पॉसिबिलिटी सर, इन केस यू वांट टू कंप्लीट इट बाय 17th और समथिंग, दैट्स आल्सो।
नहीं, ऐसा कोई टारगेट नहीं है। आई वाज थिंकिंग कि है ना कि चैप्टर कंप्लीट हुआ। दिस हैज बीन गोइंग ऑन मोर देन 1 year नाउ। लास्ट अगस्त वी हैड स्टार्टेड। तो इसके पहले तो जब भी चैप्टर किए थे तो बहुत जल्दी हो रहे थे, बट दिस टाइम वी हैव गॉन रियली स्लो। तो 1 साल से ज्यादा चल रहा है ये चैप्टर।
Sir,
और
but I
बीच में मैंने गैप भी लिया 3 महीने। आई वाज नॉट एबल टू टेक बिकॉज ऑफ हेल्थ कंडीशन। तो 3 महीने का वो गैप भी हो गया।
Sir, going slow and
Very
so
in-depth.
relaxed is really a blessing for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir,
बहुत
definitely.
in depth.
ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम।
Sir,
But
today
sir,
this.
अभी
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, sir, you continue. Please continue.
Sir, today the way you said that the distance more, it shows that the mind is not in the better. The better state is when the distance is so less that so all this way, the way you explain, sir, it just seeps through the mind, sir.
सोने वाला होगा।
हाँ, तो मैं यही बोलने वाली थी because I just came from Vipassana. I just came at 7-2 and the distance is so less because we were doing Anapana and Vipassana. तो इतना छोटा distance, like breath, especially वो stoppage automatically होना, experience everything right now also. I have done it before also. But जैसे आप बोल रहे थे ना, I was recollecting those moments of my experience.
See, in Vipassana, though, the principal technique itself is breathing. So Anapanasati, that itself is the technique. So there, these kind of experiences will definitely, that subtleness of breath will be experienced. Stoppage also will be experienced. And breath will become very, subtle, सूक्ष्म हो जाएगा.
The only difference is वो normal breathing में हो रहा है,
हाँ.
प्राणायाम में वो conscious breathing से हो रहा है. Yes.
What I think what Falguni was saying, the way you explained it, Nasa, the hand this way, so that amplified the exact, the thing in the mind. Is it right, Falguni? That is what you're trying
That's
to
what
say.
I'm telling you. मैं अभी just experience करके आई और सर मेरे को सामने से वापस से बता रहे हैं. So like it was. That's the reason I ended my course at 5 p.m. and then immediately I rushed back home just not to miss this class.
Since we have not done this, I thought there's less time, इसलिए मैंने कुछ कराया नहीं. लेकिन little homework. अभी जब भी कुछ समय के लिए दिन में you sit in Sukhasan, Padmasan, Ardha Padmasan, preferably Ardha Padmasan where the spine is very straight, if not Padmasan. And then just, just focus on the exhalation part. Don't do anything else. Inhale normally. And then as you are exhaling, do it as slow as possible and let that exhalation merge into stoppage. Without any jerk, without any effort. Exhale and you are exhaling and then just stop. So 3-4 सेकेंड 5 सेकेंड जितना बन पड़े स्टॉप करने का. Then after that take few rounds of normal breathing. 2-3 राउंड एकदम नॉर्मल ब्रीदिंग करने का. Then again exhale and merge that exhalation into stoppage. 5 से लेके 10 राउंड तक at a time. Every day you try. If you can try 2-3 times, that will be fine. तो थोड़ा थोड़ा इसका अभ्यास करेंगे तो things will become clear.
One more thing, yes sir, we'll do that. And one more thing, because मैंने स्वर योग किया था तो वहां पर as you said ना 4 finger, 8 fingers, 12 fingers, 16 fingers, so whatever element is predominant right now वो हिसाब से ही जाएगा. अगर पृथ्वी तत्व है तो 4 उंगल है, तो like अगर आकाश तत्व है तो like that 16 fingers जाएगा ही जाएगा breath. So whichever element is right now governing, वो हिसाब से the breath will be long or short. By default. So that maybe अगर it may not be short. मतलब अगर वो ही deep state of mind में it may not be short.
But if my mental state changes, then it will become short.
Like that.
And yoga is all about changing the mental states.
Right.
क्योंकि अगर हमारी mental state योग करने के पहले भी वही है और बाद में भी वही है तो योग क्यों करेंगे?
नहीं. Nice, very nice sessions.
ठीक है, we leave it here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, stop the